Hi. There was a bit of a delay today in getting online. Hi. Amanda here in Italy. It's, I think, about, what is the time? It's 8:30. It's Sunday night, and that means we're having a live about Italy. What am I going to talk about today? What's the title of the video? Is how it's been for me to be resident here in Italy for the last 22 years. And I'm going to cover some of the questions that come up for those who are researching living in Italy, the legislation, how things go, all of that sort of stuff. Now, I've done a past video, I've done more than one, on what it's like to live in Europe after Brexit. I will link that up at the end if you want to watch that first or you want to watch it after. But I'll link it up there, and I'll also link it down in the description box so I don't have to recover the details of that one. So this is going to be a sort of 10-point thing so you can keep track. Okay, so get comfortable, get yourself a glass of wine or a cup of tea, and let's get right into it. Let's talk about Italy, getting residence in Italy, and what it's all about. So, sometimes I'm seen as a truth merchant, and sometimes the truth isn't that pleasant. It's much more romantic to just go along and say, well, I don't really know the details, but there's this romantic view and everything's lovely. Yes, I can spend hours talking about how lovely life in Italy is. I'm still here. I love the fresh vegetables. I had guests this week from UK, and they went on and on about how amazing the vegetables and the fruits taste. Much more, they taste much more fresh and they have more taste to them because, as they put it, the tomatoes are grown hydroponically. I don't know if any of this is true. Most of life is subjective, and living in Italy, I'm subjective, everyone's subjective, but I'm going to try and stick to the facts tonight to help you make a decision if it's the right place for you, whether you want to retire here and do up a house in Sicily or Tuscany, or to take part in the €1 scheme, the one buying a house for €1 in Italy, which is a big theme, and I want to cover all the traps that you can fall into with that. So stick by. If you can't watch this when you go out live, you can watch it back. It's available immediately. And let me know if you have any questions. And if you're new here, my name's Amanda. I live in Italy, and we're going to cover those subjects tonight. Please like the video when you come in. You can just hit the like button. It makes a huge difference to how the channel is recommended by YouTube, and I'm making this content free. You can give a like. I'm sure you can. And I know sometimes it's easy to forget, but please go and hit that like button. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? So let's get straight to it. Okay, so this week, with all the busy things I had to do, I had guests here, as I mentioned, from the UK. So I saw living in Italy through their eyes and their questions about, I could see them thinking, oh, I wonder if we could live here. I wonder how it would be for us. Well, the very first issue is always working. If you're not retired and you're not somebody who has means and wealth where you could apply for an elective visa, then the biggest thing is, if you're not at retirement age, is where you're going to work, how you're going to work. That's the first big issue. If you live in UK, you're after Brexit, you're no longer part of the EU, so you're just like an American or Canadian or an Australian or wherever you're coming from, in that you have to get a visa to stay here permanently. And there are various types of visas. I'm going to get to them. Okay, but what struck me this week, because I watched a few other YouTubers on Italy, was I watched a couple, they were definitely, let's say, in their 70s, and They were based in Sicily near Palermo, which is on everyone's lips at the moment, especially Cefalù and Messina and that area where quite a few influencers on YouTube are talking about buying a €1 house or moving there or the possibilities. Anyway, they were chatting and they did this kind of interview technique on their video where they both spoke about how it had been for them. And they had been living there for about 10 years, I think, if I'm not wrong. But they were definitely of retirement age. So their money had been made in America. Their grandchildren were in America. Their family were in America. So they wanted to go back and forth between the two, and no doubt had medical needs covered in America if they wanted it. So there was that. Very important. These are all very important points. Okay. And then they started chatting, and there were some questions that came up from their viewers. And one of the questions that came up from the viewers is, how did you get to stay in Italy? And the answer was, he is Italian born. He has always kept his Italian citizenship. And she, as his wife, became an Italian citizen through marriage. So that's the easy route. That's the very easy route, but it's a crucial route and it can't be ignored in a discussion, because how it is for an Italian citizen to move to Sicily or anywhere in Italy on a semi-permanent, non-permanent, or permanent basis is completely different to somebody who's subject to visa requirements and has to get a carta di soggiorno in the case of Brit people, or a permesso in the past. Anyway, so the question was asked of this couple: how did you come? How were you able to get residency in Italy? Was the question. And she answered, oh, we did have to get a permesso anyway. So I was confused. I thought, no, this is weird. And they didn't understand. And this is what happens with people who, post about stuff that's their experience. Somehow they'd missed the fact, I don't know how, that they were both Italian citizens, and therefore for them to come and get a house in Sicily, live in Sicily, or live temporarily in Sicily, they have no rules. They can do what they want. They can come and go as they want. That is a very different situation from a person who needs to get permission to stay. Okay, so that was the first problem. And then she said, oh, we don't have to get a permesso. Now, this was a misunderstanding of the fact that in Italy, you have to register in the town hall for residence, right? And so she misinterpreted that, this Italian citizen who'd been living in Italy all this time, as, oh, we had to get a permesso to stay. No, you didn't. You didn't. And this kind of misrepresentation confuses the hell out of people. And it's why I constantly get questions, and everybody who assists with relocation to Italy, or people who have YouTube channels about Italy, constantly come up against this, because there's a lot of talking about Italy out there, and there's a lot of misrepresentation. Also about the €1 house scheme, but we're going to get to this. Anyway, so I was a bit disturbed by this, because I thought, okay, so now there's a whole bunch of people in America. These people were from Texas, as I understand it, who are going to think that, okay, even if you have Italian citizenship, you've still got to ask for a visa or permission to stay. This is not true. As an Italian citizen, you could be a dual citizen. Many people are. In this case, American and Italian. In my case, British and Italian. You have every right to be here. But yes, you do have to register as a resident, and you have to register because that leads to healthcare and once you have residence in a town, you can apply for healthcare, state healthcare. So that needs to be done. But that doesn't mean you need a permiso to stay. So anyway, this is what happens when the truth gets bent out of shape. Anyway, so that happens. And then a bit further down, I read another comment and she said, oh, but we've been living. Somebody commented on this and said, are you sure you need a permission to stay? And she said, oh, well, we've been living in landlocked Texas for so many years. Maybe we didn't understand. And so then again, my antennas popped up and I thought, you know what, I'm not an expert on America, but I did study I had a very good geography teacher at school. And I'm pretty sure that Texas is not landlocked. Then, in fact, it has beaches. I remember Galveston, and you're going to tell me in the comments the beaches that Texas has. I used to have quite a few Texans who joined me on my Sunday Night Lives. I hope I have a Texan tonight, or somebody who maybe can tell me, yes, no, Texas is not landlocked. It has beaches. Anyway, these people clearly, okay, they're out there, but it's okay. So this is just on one program that I watched. Facts that get smudged. Let's call them smudged. Yeah. So one, that as an Italian citizen you need a permesso. No, you don't. And two, the Texas is landlocked, which it isn't. Okay. But let's leave that aside for a minute, okay? Let's leave aside that sometimes people, Americans who come here on a retirement basis, don't really understand the ins and outs of whether they came via citizenship, how to acquire dual citizenship. I have a video on that. I will hook it down in the description box or put it up there. I'm not going to just cover citizenship in this because we're getting to the truth. We're covering all the truths so that you can make a much better guided decision. Okay. Yes. Do I know lots about living in Italy? I've been living here myself for 22 years. I came on a permesso di soggiorno. I've worked in Italy. I then registered by naturalization as a citizen. I am a citizen. So I've done all the paperwork that is possible to do, and I've assisted many people to do all the paperwork that is possible to do. So I have a little bit of a thing about the truth. And I know that you probably get more views on a YouTube channel. Believe me, this is a sore point with me. If you just paint everything with wide brush and lovely rosy colors, and you wear your rose-colored spectacles. I need to get my rose-colored spectacles and put them on when I talk about Italy. Yes, all of that is true. It is lovely. It's a beautiful place to live. As my guest told me this week from UK, the fruit and vegetables taste 50 times better. The food is amazing. It's quite reasonable compared to some places in the world. All of that's true. You can have wonderful holidays in Tuscany with magnificent beaches. There's lots of wonderful, and we all know them because we get bombarded with how wonderful and beautiful Italy is all the time. Now, I could make a channel, and I've had a channel just talking about the beauty spots of Italy. I have tons of videos on my channel when I visit a beauty spot in Italy, trying to show people the beauty of Italy. They don't get that many views. And the reason they don't get that many views, just my opinion, you could tell me in the comments if you like, it's because there are millions and tens of millions of people making videos, whether they've ever been to Italy, whether they live in Italy. Some of them I don't think have ever been, and a lot of them are using AI, artificial intelligence, to make beautiful videos of Italy. And and they've got all the camera angles, and they buy content off sites where you can buy clips of Italy, and they put it all together. They edit the whole thing, and it's a beautiful video of Italy. There's no authenticity. It's not a first-person idea of what Italy's like. But these people get millions of views, and they monetize their channels, and that's the view of Italy. So that's fine. I don't want to be in that space because that's not what I'm about. So my first person account of what it is to live in Italy, to be in Italy, the problems associated with Italy, maybe doesn't suit everybody because they just want to be in fairyland. They just want to be in the cloud. They just want to keep on their rose-colored spectacles and just talk about the great stuff. And that's fine. There are millions of channels doing that. And quite a few regular YouTubers who are living in Italy, who talk about Italy, just steer completely clear of any of the bureaucracy, the problems, or any of that. And I can't because they come up daily, and I regularly speak how much I love about Italy. I live in Italy. Okay, so let's get to the €1 house because I don't want to verge too much away from the 10 points. So the €1 house scheme was instituted to repopulate villages, usually in the south. There are some remote locations in the north of Italy, but they're normally on a hill town which doesn't have transport links, certainly doesn't have any hospital nearby, and there is a lack of services. And the young people left those villages and have been leaving those villages for 60 years, sometimes even more, because there was nothing there for them. And they went to work in Milan or Rome or wherever. Okay, you may say, well, who cares? It's a gorgeous little village. It's got a lovely little house that I want with 2 bedrooms, and it needs lots of fixing. It's basically a pile of rocks, but that's where I want to live. It's romantic. It has a lovely view, and I want to live that dream. I want to live under the Tuscan sun. I don't want to hear the details. I don't want to hear that I won't be able to get permission to change it, to make the windows bigger or the door taller, because that the bureaucracy doesn't allow it, and you'll never get permission to do it. People don't want to hear about all of this. They just hear €1 house. Okay, so let's just look at the nuts and bolts of the €1 house scheme. Let's do that, okay? So Sicily has recently been on the cards because 1 or 2 quite well-known YouTubers, for all I know you're following them, maybe you are, have taken up this village near Messina, which is the Messina Strait is where the mainland of Italy and Sicily come close together. They have been talking for at least ever since I've been in Italy, maybe, I don't know, 40 years before that, about building a bridge, a causeway across the Messina Strait so that basically the mainland and Sicily would be one. It hasn't happened for whatever reasons, could be bureaucracy, could be money, but it hasn't ever happened. So Sicily is still an island, and then there's the mainland. And if you want to go from the mainland of Italy to Sicily, you either have to take a ferry, which you can put your car on, or you have to fly. Or you can drive your own car and put it on the ferry. Okay? So here's the deal. Okay. So this particular village in Messina has had 2 young families join with young children, and I think it's wonderful. I mean, this is exactly what the €1 scheme is hoping and praying for, that if they offer these houses, which are limited and always need a lot of work, okay, it's not that you get a €1 house, you just move in and blah, blah, blah. No. You have limitations in that you have 3 years to renovate it. If you don't renovate it, a fine is levied and you have to pay that fine and then, schedule when the work will be done. Okay, that's okay. You could say that, oh, that's still okay. How much work will you have to do to have a house that you can live in? Well, let's talk about this. You could go from, I would say, about 40,000 if you're doing the work yourself, right up to 200,000 if you want to maybe make more bedrooms, slightly larger. There's the whole permit thing of changing the outside of the house, which you would have to get permission from. These permissions in Italy take forever. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're the Shah of Iran. You're still going to have to go through this whole loop-de-loop of getting this permission to change the outside look of this house. They don't want big modern windows and, extended balconies with infinity pools. They want to keep the look of the old village. So the doorways will not be able to be changed. The windows won't be able to be changed. The inside of it, you could pretty much do what you want. You can slap orange paint around, blue paint, whatever. You can do all of that. You could perhaps change the floors, although quite often they have beautiful tile flooring from the 50s and 60s, which is rather lovely. And I suggest that most people would probably keep it. And maybe you've got a bunch of old broken furniture left by the former person, or maybe you're lucky and it's not bad furniture, and you can literally move in and live for a few years. But nevertheless, at some stage, you're going to want to make this home into yours. And who are you going to need? Okay, the electricity is without a doubt of another era. So that's got to be upgraded. That can't be done by you and your mates. Well, if you're an electrician, it can be. But let's assume that most people can't do their own electricity. So you're going to have to get an Italian electrician who's available, who's prepared to come to your village in Messina and do the electrics. Okay, and remember, he is used to working with Italians. It's not his problem that you can't communicate. Maybe you have friends that, you can sort of communicate with them about what you're going to do on the electricity, how you're going to change it. Okay, let's say you have a translator, a friendly translator who can help you. That's all good and well. So this guy gives you a quote. Let's say it's going to be more than you imagined. Let's just, because whatever you think it's going to cost, you need to double it if you're lucky. So let's say he says it's going to be 20 grand to redo the whole electrics, okay? And because you want a new water heater and you want a proper washing machine. And quite often in Italy, what people don't know is the electricity system is a phase where if you have the oven, if you have an electric oven, and you have the washing machine on at the same time, it'll trip. It'll trip the electricity and you're sitting in the dark. Lovely. Yeah. So anyway, to upgrade this whole electricity system that you want for your new house, it's going to cost 20 grand. Okay, so then he says, when can you come? We're keen, we want to get going, we've got the money, we want to get going. And he says, I'll come in 3 weeks when I finish that job. He's got to finish that job may be delayed. Let's say he comes to you 2 months later, whatever, and he's ready to go. You have to make sure all the materials are there, everything's bought, everything's ready to go. There's bound to be some headache. It's an island. Maybe whatever he wanted wasn't there, or whatever you thought you could substitute for that phase of electricity, it's not enough. He needs something else. That's all got to be ordered, that's got to be bought. So now you're running 3 months in arrears, if you're lucky. Maybe less, maybe more, but about that. Okay. And because you don't have the right to live in Italy, because you haven't applied for one of the visas, which are the elective visa for retired people or people of independent means who have a passive income, or the new digital nomad visa where you have to prove that you're going to work in a job as a digital nomad. You've got to prove your record as a digital nomad, all of that, okay, all takes time, and they give you 1 year as an initial, and then it's renewable. Because you've decided that your heart is speaking and you're just going to buy this house, this €1 house, because it's going to go. It's the last one with a sea view, or it's the last one in that village. Nonsense. There's hundreds of them. But anyway, estate agents always tell you it's the last one available, it's the best one available, whatever. Okay. The money is burning a hole in your pocket and you think, look, we'll get the money to renovate it. Let's just get it. It's the urgency thing. Buyer beware. just like when you get married, just like when you buy any property, just like when you do a business deal. If you're doing it running on emotion and you're doing it quickly and you're doing it with emotions running high and you feel that you have to make a decision quickly, it's going to come back to bite you on the behind, almost guaranteed in some way, in some shape, in some form. But maybe you don't care. Maybe you're so in love with this whole idea of Italy, living in Italy, having this lovely house in Sicily, you don't care. Okay, great. So now you're only allowed to stay in Italy for 90 days. That's about 3 months. So now you have to go because you've outstayed your ability to be there as a non-resident. You don't have permanent residency. So now you've got to go and you've got to stay out for another 3 months in a non-Schengen country. So let's say you go back to UK and you are sitting there for 3 months twiddling your thumbs, trying to earn money, I assume, while this guy who was ready, the electrician, to come and do your electrics, is saying to you, what am I supposed to do? You're not here. I don't know, blah, blah, blah. And you're not here. And you can't come into the country because you've already been there for 3 months and now you have to be out, according to Schengen rules. 90 days out of 180. And then eventually, and you're frustrated because you maybe you've made friends there and you say, can you go and check on the electrician? You know, things go wrong. And then you want to maybe have the floor tiles changed or have a bathroom fitted or whatever. And it's going to happen, Murphy's Law, when you can't be in the country. And this is what people don't understand. I watched a couple just today who've moved to a village in Messina and they don't have permanent residence, but they're in love with this €1 house that they've signed for. These are the realities of the €1 house traps that people get into when they are emotionally attached. It's great if you just want it as a holiday place. You're a retired couple, maybe you live in the States, maybe you live in Australia, and each time you come, you do it up a bit and you make it beautiful, and it's a holiday home, and maybe you have extended family, cousins or whatever, and they can use it when they come for their holiday, and you all share the cost. This can be wonderful. But that is not all the people who fall into the €1 scheme. And most of the people, Americans who bought 5 or 6 and are Airbnb-ing them, they did that some time ago. And they had contacts there because they were living there. So they could find a plumber, an electrician, and all of that. Italian regulation when it comes to renovating is enormous. It's hard to understand. It's convoluted. It really depends who you know. You need a geometer. If you don't have a geometer, and especially if you don't have a geometer who's going to tell you the truth and not lead you down the garden path, you're in deep, deep water. And you won't know you're in deep water until it's literally covering your mouth because things evolve. And that guy was going to come back to you and you believed him and he did, and it evolves. And eventually people leave Italy with their dreams in pieces, unhappy and really angry that they never got the truth. But you have to be open to hearing the truth. It's wonderful. And I'm not knocking it in any way. There are many people, I would say the minority, not the majority, who have a holiday home in Sicily or, I don't know, somewhere in the south in a €1 scheme place. And they love it because they go back to Australia. I have a friend who goes back to Australia for her time to time, and then she comes out. And she loves her time here. But, you know, she's got family in Australia, so she goes back and forth between the two. This can be wonderful. She renovated her house some time ago. It was quite a challenge, but she loved it and she's done it successfully. And there are many success stories. I want to stress that. But if you get emotionally attached to this 1 euro house, and then you put an offer and you buy it, and you're off and running to the races, and then you discover, oh, we don't have residence. But what you would like to do is have residence because you've got a young child. The young child's going to have to go to school. Where's the child going to go to school? If you are buying a 1 euro house because you want to come on holiday once a year, twice a year, 3 times a year, whatever the thing is, depending on whether you have citizenship or not and how many days you can spend here, that's great. But if you're a young family and you want to reestablish yourself there, which is what they want in these villages, they want a new generation to live there, raise their children there, get the school going again, get the services going again. If that's the case, but you don't have a permission to stay, you're going to fall between a rock and the hard place, because you're going to be in UK and your child needs to start school, and you can't make all the preparations to start school because you can't be in the country. You have to wait for your next trance of time to be in Italy, if you know what I mean. Okay, so that is one of the biggest traps people fall into. Or they don't have young children, they are retired, but they don't meet the requirements for the elective visa for whatever reason. They don't have a passive income, whatever they fall short with on the elective visa. Now they have a house in Italy, they bought it, whether it was a 1 euro house scheme or a 40,000 euro house that they bought in Tuscany, whatever, little ruin, and they did it up and they sunk 20, 30, 40, 60,000 into it. But they have no right to stay. So it's always going to be a holiday house. If that was your original plan, great. But if your original plan was to have a different life because you want a quieter, nicer place as you get older, this doesn't meet the bill, because you don't have residency rights. And because you don't have residency rights, you cannot get health insurance, which is the number one reason many people who are over 50 come to Italy. Because they say, well, I'm living in the States. I don't qualify via work for the health insurance anymore, and it's stressful. I'm always, teaching on bankruptcy because I don't know if I can actually cover my medical costs. These are very real issues, and that's why I make these videos, because these are the stories I hear from people daily when they ask me, please, what can I do? How can you help me? I would prefer to help them in the beginning, when they're making the initial decisions about what to buy, what not to buy, what to do, what they could do, and what they couldn't do. Okay. So I think we've sort of covered the 1 euro house. There's also a 7% tax situation, which is another scheme by the Italian government to repopulate areas once again that are depopulated. The population of Italy is always falling. So the birth rate is one of the lowest in Europe. What does that mean? That means they need new people, because somebody's going to have to pay the pensions of the people who are going on pension every year because they've been working all their lives. And the new generation, there's less and less of them working to pay the pension. This is just 101 in economics. It's not difficult to understand. And when I first came to Italy, I think there were 65 or 66 million Italians, the population, and now it's 60, and probably by this end of this year it could be 59. Okay, there's 1 or 2 million foreigners who've come in, so they've added a bit to the bucket, but a lot of them are retired. They're not working. Most people who are international in Italy, who are not Italians, don't work. They came because they are of means, and some of them have eventually naturalized, and some of them pay into an elective medical insurance because they don't qualify for the state medical. Okay, these are real issues. They are questions one needs to ask yourself. So if you got emotionally involved and you decide you wanted to buy the €1 house because you couldn't hold off any longer and you're scared you're going to lose it, or if you decided to get a house in one of the 7% Italian tax scheme areas because it's just too good to resist that you're only paying 7% tax, you have to understand that those areas come with limitations and they can't be avoided. So you might be a little bit further away from a city to get an aircraft to go home to see your family, if you're from the States or from Australia or from UK or wherever you're from. Could be Sweden. You're going to be further away from any airport. You're going to be in an area where perhaps the hospitals aren't top notch. Italy has one of the top health across the board, one of the top health systems in Europe. But not every little village has what you need. And if you have health needs and you've decided to go live in a little hilltop village that has a bus service once or twice a day, and you can't drive because you're an American, you've come here, and after 1 year, you have to rewrite your entire driver's license in Italian. There is no option to do it in English. Another thing that people forget. If that's your situation, this can unravel on you. This can make you where once you just had the rose-colored glasses and you love Italy and everything's glorious, and then suddenly you can't drive, you can't visit any friends, you feel isolated, or you have an operation, or you have cancer treatment and you've got to get to the hospital, which is a way away, and you need a car. These things affect you. I don't know how else to say this, but often they get ignored in the emotional decisions about, yes, I'll go and live in the south of Italy in a 7% tax area. Okay? So the €1 house scheme we've covered, the 7% tax area. Look carefully into it. Look carefully at, is it really going to suit your needs as you get older? And if you're a young couple, is it going to suit your needs? Is there good internet there? Is there an airport that you can get back and forth if one of you still has to work in UK or somewhere to earn the bacon? All of these things are crucially important. You need to get a piece of paper and make lists and say, is this an issue for us? Will it ever be an issue? No. Okay, cancel that. If you have dual citizenship, Italian citizenship, then this is much easier. Number one, you still have to register for residence when you come here. If you haven't lived here before, you get your residence in the village where you found your house, if you're renting or buying or whatever, and you can easily rent and look around first, which is what I always suggest. Rent first, look around, repent not. Instead of buying in an emotional moment and then repenting because you thought, oh, we're now in a remote village, and do your homework first, rent first. And so if you're an American, if you're an Italian citizen or a dual citizen, so you have an Italian citizenship and another, you have no problems. If you need a job, it's still a problem because there are no jobs in Italy. Let me just be forthright about that. But if you have means and you can earn a living, or you can do your investments online, or you can sell property in the States, and then, whatever you're doing, whatever your business is, I don't know, or you just have enough means and you can just retire here nicely. Great. Fabulous place to be. And I would certainly do that. I came when I was young, I was still working, and I became an Italian citizen. But if I had the money and I, was an American citizen and then could come here and have this as my second place and maybe spend more and more time as an older person where I can afford to subsidize my health care if something goes wrong, it's a fabulous place to be. And And I say that without reservation. There's no but in that sentence. Okay. For all the other people who need residence or who can't get residence or who want to just come once every 6 months, I need a sip of water. It's going to be challenging because if you're renovating a house, the very time when you need to be there because finally the electrician or the bricklayer turned up or the guy who's installing your water heater and you're not there because you can't be there, you have to be out the country, that is a major headache. And it's a headache that can turn against you and bite you like a really bad snake bite. Yeah. I just want to help people to not make these mistakes. And as I said earlier, I watched this American couple who were Italian citizens by virtue of the fact that he was born in Italy and she'd become Italian by marrying him many years ago, who didn't even understand that as Italian citizens, they don't need a permesso di soggiorno. No, you don't. You're a citizen. As a citizen of any country, you have the right to live there. Sure, you have to go to the town hall and tell them where you're living so you can get on the state medical. But that's it. And you have to pay your tax. And there are lots of taxes in Italy. Another thing that I've covered in other videos, let me just briefly touch on it. We pay an enormous income tax. If you're earning above the norm, and above the norm in Italy is about 4,000 a month, you're paying 48% tax. Yeah, it's a lot. Then there's other tax like refuse tax that we all pay, tax on all sorts of things. If you have more than one house, in other words, it's not your principal house. So you have your principal house that you live in, that's not taxed. But a second house, which is why many Italians got rid of their holiday houses, or put them in Airbnb and they just pay the extra tax. You are taxed on that second house. Extra tax, yeah. So there's a lot of taxes in Italy, VAT, a bunch of taxes, okay? So if you add it all up, you're paying half your income every month in tax. It's not a tax-friendly country. Unless you have some scheme and you have a trust and money isn't a big obstacle for you, that's all fine and good. And maybe still Italy is lovely for you. I'm simply saying that maybe France is slightly more advantageous for Canadians and Americans in terms of the tax obligations. But please don't shoot me, and please don't call me anti-Italian, because I've simply told you that I've helped people to move to France. I help people to be where they want to be and to enjoy the lives they want to live. Okay, so we've covered a bit of tax. I don't want this to go beyond our usual time of about 50 minutes. Please, if you have any questions, drop down in the comments. If you don't agree with what I've said or you have another point, I'm open to hearing and I like to debate. And obviously, I want to hear what you have to say. But yes, I will be doing follow-ups, but this was just to simply cover residence in Italy and why the €1 scheme may not suit you. Maybe it does, and that's fabulous. And why the 7% lower tax scheme for certain areas in Italy may not also suit you, depending on your medical needs and other things that you may or may not have to consider. So I'll just do a quick recap. So living in Italy can be a wonderful, wonderful thing. I'm here. And as I mentioned, my guests talk about the lovely food, the beautiful, beautiful locations in Italy. You know, I have the Borromeo Islands near me. There's the beautiful Amalfi Coast. There's the gorgeous Abruzzo, which is more wild, and lots of people find affordable houses there. There's Marche, which is along the Adriatic coast, down from Venice, looking onto Croatia. There's so many beautiful areas. There's the whole south of Italy, Bari, the lovely Lecce, which is the Florence of the south, down, to the boot of Italy, Basilicata. There are lots of beautiful, beautiful places. Napoli, Campania, up to Tuscany, Liguria. I could go on all evening. There's so many beautiful areas. If I didn't mention your favorite area, drop down in the comments, let me know. But please do your homework. And if you'd like to write me, the email's always there in the comments. If you'd like to write me and let me know what you think, what you thought of tonight, whether it works, and whether you have any questions, let me know. So I'm going to wrap this up for the truth about residence in Italy tonight. And as I say, I will hook up over there and also in the description boxes the other videos I've done about residence in Italy, the digital nomad visa, the elective visa, and everything you need to know about those precise visas. So if you've joined us tonight, thank you so much. And if you'll be watching this back, I look forward to your comments. Please like the video. I see somebody's liked it. Please go and like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. From Amanda here in Italy on this rather autumnal feeling evening. It's been hot and sunny, but today it feels a little bit of autumn and rainy. I look forward to the next time. See you soon, and let me know in the comments what you'd like me to cover next, and see you soon in Italy. Bye for now from Italy. Bye. Bye.